Day 2 for the quadratic formula and imaginary numbers unit for Mr. Kenzie's integrated algebra class should be performed on the 25th, which is next week, Wednesday. You're going to do these warm-up questions on your own. The one thing I will be careful of, this one when you're asked to factor is dots. Notice how there's non-equal signs, so you're not going to solve. This one is a factor of a GCF. It's again, no equal sign. This one there is equal sign, so you will solve. This one you'll solve too, and your first step will be to cross multiply. So make sure you finish up these 5. In addition to what we don't finish in our lesson. Okay, please take a look at the next page. We're going to continue our discussion with the quadratic formula. Once again, we use the quadratic formula if we have a non-factorable quadratic or if we just like the method. Looking at number 1, first thing that we are going to do is we're going to put this in standard form. So we have x squared minus 4x minus 3 is equal to 0. Now I moved everything to the left. You can move it to the right, but I like to work with a positive a value. Next thing we want to do is we want to state our a, b, and c. So a is 1, b is -4, and c is -3. I'm going to write these terms into the quadratic formula. So we have x is equal to of -b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now we're just going to plug in the values. Once again, we have a b, it's going to go here and here. So -4. A will go here and on the bottom. And c will be here. We are going to start to simplify. So we have x is equal to negative of a -4, which should be +4, plus minus 2 times 1 is 2. The radicand, we're going to use our calculator, plugging in without the radical sign. So we have parenthesis -4 squared minus 4 times 1 times -3. So I'll get 28. Now our directions say we are going to simplify each of these radicals, so that's what we're going to have to do. The next thing, 28 is not a perfect square. We have to rewrite with a perfect square factor. So I have 4 plus or minus 4 times 7 all over 2. We know that 4 is a perfect square. That will come outside the radical as a 2. So we have x is equal to 4 plus or minus 2 radical 7 all over 2. Now the next thing, it was just like the last example we did together yesterday, we're going to break this into 2 fractions. X equal to 4 over 2 plus or minus 2 radical 7 over 2. We simplify. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Both these are both divisible by 2. They turn to 1s. So we should have x is equal to 2 plus or minus 1 radical 7 or just radical 7. So as we talked about yesterday, we can leave our answer like this. The other thing you could do is break it into 2 parts. X is equal to 2 plus radical 7 and x is equal to 2 minus radical 7. So you will be doing number 2 on your own for your homework. We're going to continue over to these 4. Now, the directions for this are a little bit different. It says solve using the quadratic formula round each answer to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to be rounding. I'm going to look at number 3. All right, so for number 3, first thing we have to do, standard form, so we subtract 4. So we have 2x squared minus 5x minus 4 is equal to 0. Now we want to state our a, b, and c values. So we know a is 2, b is negative 5, c is equal to negative 4. We're now going to plug this into the quadratic formula. So x is equal to, I have negative b, plus or minus. Now once again, it's important to put your parentheses, so make sure your signs are accurate. We have b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a. So we're going to plug in. So we have negative b, so this will be negative 5 here and here. Negative 4 times a is here and here, and then c. So we're going to start to simplify. Negative of negative 5 is 5, plus or minus. 2 times 2 is 4. Once again, we're going to plug this into our calculator. I have negative 5 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 4. Just like that. And we should get 57. Now 57 is not a perfect square. It has no perfect square factors. So the only thing we're going to do now is we're going to start to break this into fractions and then rounding to the nearest hundredth. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to break this x is equal to 5 over 4 plus radical 57 over 4. And we also have x is equal to 5 over 4 minus radical 57 over 4. So I'm going to use my calculator to get my x values, my roots, my solutions, my zeros. Those are all names for them. Go to my calculator. Now we're using fractions, so we're going to make sure we use parentheses. We have 5 divided by 4, close parentheses, plus, I have radical 57. Make sure you arrow over. Notice how the 4 does not have a radical above it. Now we're rounding to the nearest hundredth. So the nearest hundredth is the second decimal place. There's a second decimal place. Because that's a 7, 5 or greater, this goes up to a 4. So here we have x is equal to 3.14. Here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to push second entry. So whatever I most recently plugged in will show up. I'm going to move over here, change the addition to subtraction. And now rounding to the nearest hundredth, the second decimal place, I'll have negative 0.64. So those would be your answers. Now the only time that you can go right from here to plugging in your calculator is if you are asked to round. Otherwise, you have to simplify like it was up here. So your homework for tonight will be these 4, numbers 2, 4, 5, and 6, as well as the warm-up questions. Thank you.